We mentioned in this week's Parsha, in the article written above, that Yitzchak, who's one of the main characters, so to speak, in this week's Parsha, that his main attribute is described as Yira, or Din perhaps, Gevura, all representing fear, strength, justice, while Avram was Chesed, he was kindness. We talked about the fact that Yitzchak, because he's the attribute of justice, of fear, it's really impossible to test him. Take a look above and you'll see what we wrote. Avram, however, was the only one who had tests. This doesn't mean, God forbid, that he was lower than Yitzchak, but the attribute of Chesed is something that needs to be tested. Perhaps we could say hardened, not the attribute itself, but the person. Because Chesed, without boundaries, represents a negative thing. Chesed has to be bounded by justice, strength, and because through love, a person is prone to fall. The attribute of kindness can destroy you. One of the most interesting examples of this, God forbid, this is nothing to say about Abraham. One of the most interesting examples of this is that the word chesed itself is used in a place where it's shockingly hard to understand what it means. Chesed, as we know, which normally means kindness, is used as the adjective to describe the horribly inappropriate relationship of incest between a brother and sister. The Torah says chesed hu, only once. But that's what it says. And usually it's translated, and correctly so, as, something like perversion or some other word like that. That's, a horrible word, so to speak, or a good word for something that is horrible. It describes it well. And we have to understand why the word chesed could mean both. And the reason is, at this stage, as I understand it, is because the brother-sister relationship is the epitome of a loving, dear, warm relationship between two people who are from the opposite sex and are peers and, so to speak, could be attracted to each other. And it's nothing but purely 100% platonic. It's loving and friendly. In fact, the Bible describes one of the ideal female relationships, the idea of one's wife, as a loving sister, loving bride, a sisterly bride. And the idea being that, your bride is your intimate lover, your sister is your platonic lover, and a wonderful wife is both. But the point is that when you have a chesed, that's a love of kindness between someone like that, if you don't put a bound on it, God forbid, it could become an awful thing. So chesed without boundaries is a perversion. It's a terrible thing. And that's the idea that, when you love something, love can lead to bad violations of boundaries. And therefore, people who are based on love and kindness, like Abraham, need an extra injection to, at least in Abraham's case, only a small injection to reach perfection. They need to be, hardened through a test to be able to have the boundaries that are necessary to help them get through life. And that completes, both in written and oral form, our thoughts on this week's Parsha. Have a good Shabbos.